Let's talk reuniting this cast. I am a long-time true fan of this series since I was a boy. I watched this movie about an hour and a half ago, and I was blown out of the water. We're gonna get to the ending. We won't talk about it, but you said something. I want to know, how was it reuniting with the group? Was it instant nostalgia for you?
Well, it's nostalgia, but it's nostalgia based on trauma. You know, the first movie 43 years ago, Halloween, 1978, and then the 2018 movie, which sort of reintroduced everybody to Michael and Laurie. It's exciting to see people in the new movie. We have Kyle Richards, we have Charles Cyphers, we have Nancy Stevens. These are actors that are in the original movie. This new movie, Halloween Kills, is about the collateral damage that happens to a town when something happens like the 1978 movie. You know, the 2018 movie focused on Laurie Strode. Happened 40 years ago, and Laurie Strode is going to end it. We see her at the end of the movie in the back of a truck bleeding out, but she has killed Michael and saved her daughter and granddaughter. The new movie, Michael has survived, and she has been wounded. She's a wounded warrior, and her daughter and her granddaughter and the rest of the town come together to hunt him down because Laurie is wounded.
All right, I want to talk about those moments in the hospital because we are allowed to see a softer side of Laurie. For a second, there's a bit of flirtation with Will. How was it having a softer side of a character that's been hardened for years now?
Laurie is lonely. Laurie suffered this terrible trauma and then banged around like a pinball through her life. Alcohol, drugs, men, alienation, isolation. And the first day I met Will Patton on the set when we were shooting the 2018 movie, I had this moment of clarity where I realized maybe he's the father of her daughter. Maybe they were together back in the day one night and she's never told him. Like all of a sudden, a feeling of warmth toward him and history. And I started to explore that with David and Will, and I kind of whispered in his ear once. And it just sort of built a storyline that I think we're going to explore more and more. That they did have history. Her vision of it was that maybe she acted very inappropriately with him and did things she regrets. He actually says to her, no, it was okay. We didn't do anything. And there's just a lovely, as you said, a humanness to her.
You say something to him and he goes, with his eyes closed, he goes, you're crazy. And you turn to him and you go, F you, with this smirk. And I was like, there was more said in those 3 words than any moment. It's so powerful and just so beautiful, lovely, a different side of Laurie, but still Laurie the whole time.
Stop! You had a knife in your stomach.
You and Allison should not have to keep running. Evil dies tonight.
I want to know, what does the Queen of Halloween, what's your Halloween look like? What are you doing?
I am so quiet on Halloween. I live in a neighborhood where nobody comes. I used to, when my children were little, I used to do it all up. Hang people from the trees and, you know, all the accoutrements that go with it. And spiders on the walls and all of that. And, you know, Michael, come here. Come here. I just need to talk to you for a second.
You said to just
Seriously,
ignore him?
just come here for a second, please.
Just
come here for a second. Listen. Back off. You seriously, can you just go back and just look scary on the house, please? I'm sorry. It was a good try. I mean, seriously. He just wants to get on camera. It's embarrassing. You know what? We'll talk later. I'll when we're in private, I'll explain. He had a bad childhood, and he's just like looking for attention, and he's acting out.
I'm gonna need some therapy, okay?
No, you're not. It'll be fine.
A little talking to.
No, it'll be fine. As I was saying before I was interrupted.
That Michael Myers.
I used to hang spiders and things, you know, in front of my house and stuff. And I'm sure I scared some school children, so I'm so very sorry. But nobody ever comes to my house. I put the candy out, it's still all there. So I just, you know what? I don't have to do anything on Halloween. When my kids were little, I would have to wear a costume so that people didn't pay attention to me. But, Halloween is a wonderful time for families, kids, the freedom of that. And of course, then this Halloween, the people are going to be in the theater not taking their kids because this is a brutal movie. This is brutal. Yes. There is a level of violence in this new movie. It feels to me that he has transcended, that he has risen from the flames of that burning house, and his level of rage has sort of amplified, and his brutality has amplified, and it kind of goes with the time right now. Yeah. Everybody is angry, and this is just a new level of it. And for horror fans, it's a horror film.
Yes, it is.
This isn't a rom-com. It's a horror film. It's horrific. Yes. And I think we're seeing already that people want it. They're going to the theater. They want to have an experience, and I'm telling you, this will be an experience.
Michael Myers is flesh and blood, but a man couldn't have survived that fire. The more he kills, the more he transcends.
You said that fans may be shocked and agitated. I almost wanted to start with this because when we started talking earlier, the ending of the film got me on so many different levels. Elaborate on shocked and agitated. Where does that come from? Why do you think the viewers are going to feel a little bit of this?
Well, the shock is because the level of violence has been amplified. It's shocking.
Yeah.
Agitated because there is a direct result to that level of violence. It agitates you. All of the characters. There is this group of people hunting down. It's a bit of mob violence. And that is agitating. Big groups of people. It's terrifying to watch a group of people maraud through a hospital looking for someone. And that's agitating. So it's not just your classic tale. It feels like David Gordon Green, who's the writer and the director, has, as a conductor, it's that middle section of a piece of music that has a lot of cymbals and a lot of crashing of things. It's that building up moment, and it starts building up and it never stops. This is a movie that takes off and runs. And so it's different from the original movie.
Those mob scenes you couldn't have described them better. Those were all the emotions I felt watching those mob scenes. And I won't get into them deeply, but just extraordinary stuff. By the way,
it's just, mob violence is scary.
It's terrifying.
Whatever side you're on, whatever the reason for it, just seeing it, whatever your thoughts, it's not a political statement. It's a reality statement.
It's uncomfortable.
It's uncomfortable. Yeah. It's out of control. Yeah. And when you're out of control in a movie like this, it's a real response that you get. And I mean, I can see that it happened for you.
Yeah, it did.
And by the way, that's the goal of the. I mean, we made this movie 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Hello.
Yeah.
I mean, seriously, we made it 2 years ago.
Yeah. And this is why we want to see the movie. I want to have these feels from a slasher horror movie. You want to feel it. I want to talk real quick about Michael Myers on set. Now, I know he just walked through casually and I kept it together.
Right, but this is a little bit of a joke. Not you. You're not a joke. You're a good man. I mean, you're not a good man. You're incredibly messed up. But you, whoever's in there, are very game and have been really fun to work with all day. So thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. But yeah.
Michael Myers on set. How scary is it kept, or is there small talk, mask off in between the setups?
You know what? It's interesting. The first movie in 1978, the man who played Michael was John Carpenter's best friend, Nick Castle, who was a father of 2 little kids. His wife was around, the kids were around, and he has this big bushy head of hair. And there are pictures of him standing, holding the mask, and he's just hanging out. He wasn't scary.
Right.
He was wonderful in the movie. Sure. When you see the movie, all of the head tilts are all him. We've had different people play Michael over the years. James Jude Courtney, who plays him, the 2018 movie and the 2021 movie, is a deep well of a man. And he kept to himself. He was not big and fraternizing. He stayed in character. And I'm not saying that that was scary when he was out of the mask, sitting by himself, but he wanted to keep the distance. He wanted to not be buddies. And I really respect him for it because it really works when you see the movie.
It does so well, and I think from the performer side of it, it must have been nice somewhat for you guys to have that distance and it not be like, hey, so Jamie, in between the takes, right?
Look, we're trying to suspend the reality of our lives and live in a very grim reality. It's still Halloween night. Laurie has been wounded. She saved her daughter and granddaughter, but there are a lot of angry people. They're chasing somebody. They think it's Michael. It's a mob. There's a lot going on. So you're right. It's really the skill of David Gordon Green and his team, who really kept the intensity of this movie. These are all night shoots. We're out here, it's 8 o'clock at night or 9 o'clock at night, whatever it is. We're talking about like 4 o'clock in the morning, that level of intensity. It was something to be a part of.
Is it safe to say after 40 years in this franchise, Laurie Strode earned that hospital stay where she got to just be in the bed for
Yeah,
a minute?
but you know what? Who wants to wear a hospital gown? You just don't want to. I wore one in Halloween too. They're just not, you don't look good in them. They're just shapeless, excuse the pun. They're just, they're designed for a purpose. And it's unfortunate when you're an actor and you have to wear one. But it was a different level for me to try to find that deep rage and drive and be withheld. The wound stops her. And so juggling between wanting to step into it all, but then remembering that I can't, was a challenge for me. You know, I wanted to be in there. I wanted that moment. And Laurie doesn't have those moments.